The yellow school bus pulled up to Westlake High School, its brakes squeaking as it came to a stop. Among the students stepping off was Andre Taylor, a tall, lean boy with thoughtful eyes and a quiet demeanor. He adjusted his backpack straps and took a deep breath, looking up at the sprawling brick building that would be his new school. Andre had moved to this affluent suburb just last week. The Taylor family hadn't planned to relocate in the middle of the school year, but his father, Dr. Raymond Taylor, had received an offer too good to pass up. "It'll be an adjustment," his dad had told him the night before. "But you've always been good at finding your way." Now, standing in front of Westlake High with its manicured lawns and state-of-the-art facilities, Andre wasn't so sure. His old school in the city had been smaller, more diverse, and most importantly, filled with friends he'd known since elementary school. Here he was a stranger. "Excuse me," Andre said, approaching a teacher who was greeting students by the entrance. "I'm new here. Could you point me to the main office?" The woman smiled. "Of course. Down the hall and to your right. Welcome to Westlake." Andre nodded his thanks and made his way through the crowded hallway. Students brushed past him, deep in conversations about weekend parties and upcoming tests. No one seemed to notice him, which was both a relief and a disappointment. The office staff processed his paperwork efficiently, handing him a schedule and a map of the school. "Your first class is AP Physics with Mr. Walton," the secretary told him. "Second floor, room 218. Andre thanked her and headed upstairs, navigating through the unfamiliar hallways. He arrived at the classroom just as the bell rang. 20 pairs of eyes turned to look at him as he stepped through the doorway. Mr. Walton, a middle-aged man with kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses, welcomed him. "Ah, you must be our new student. Andre Taylor, correct?" When Andre nodded, the teacher continued, "Please take any available seat. We're just about to start our unit on thermodynamics." The only empty seat was near the back, next to a window overlooking the school's football field. As Andre made his way through the rows, he noticed a group of boys watching him with undisguised interest. One of them, a stocky boy with sandy blonde hair, whispered something to his friends, causing them to snicker. Andre ignored them, focusing instead on Mr. Walton's lecture. Physics had always been his favorite subject, and he quickly became absorbed in the material, taking detailed notes and even raising his hand to answer a question about heat transfer. "Excellent answer, Mr. Taylor," Mr. Walton said, looking impressed. "It seems your previous school had a strong science program." A few students turned to look at Andre again, some with curiosity, others with what seemed like annoyance. The blond boy from earlier rolled his eyes and muttered something under his breath. When the bell rang, Andre gathered his books and headed to his next class. As he reached the doorway, someone bumped hard into his shoulder, causing him to drop his notebook. "Watch where you're going, new kid," said the blond boy, towering over Andre. A small group had formed behind him, all wearing similar expressions of disdain. "I was just leaving the classroom," Andre replied calmly, bending down to pick up his notebook. "Tyler," the boy said, placing a foot on Andre's notebook before he could grab it. "Tyler Davidson. You'd better remember that name." He lifted his foot, allowing Andre to retrieve his belongings. "And this is Chris, Liam, and Devin." He gestured to the 3 boys flanking him. Andre stood up, meeting Tyler's gaze. "Nice to meet you all. I'm Andre." Tyler laughed, but there was no warmth in it. "Yeah, we know who you are, Mr. Perfect Answer in physics." He stepped closer. "Just so we're clear, nobody likes a show-off." Before Andre could respond, Mr. Walton called from inside the classroom. "Is there a problem, gentlemen?" Tyler's demeanor instantly changed, a smile replacing his scowl. "No problem at all, Mr. Walton. Just introducing ourselves to the new student." "Well, you can continue your introductions later. Right now, you all need to get to your next classes before the late bell." The group dispersed, but not before Tyler shot Andre a look that clearly said this wasn't over. The rest of the morning passed in a blur of new faces, new classrooms, and the constant challenge of finding his way around the school. By lunchtime, Andre was exhausted from the effort of trying to fit in, while also keeping up with his coursework. The cafeteria was packed with students, their conversations creating a constant buzz of noise. Andre got his lunch and looked around for a place to sit. Most tables were already full, with clearly established groups occupying them. Athletes, drama kids, academic overachievers, and so on. He spotted an empty table near the back of the room and headed for it, relieved to have found a quiet spot where he could eat and maybe review his notes for afternoon classes. He was halfway through his sandwich when a shadow fell across his table. Well, look who's sitting all alone. Tyler's voice came from behind him. The new boy genius. Andre turned to find Tyler and his friends surrounding his table. Chris, a tall boy with dark hair, set his tray down directly across from Andre. "Hope you don't mind if we join you," he said, though his tone made it clear he didn't care whether Andre minded or not. "The table's big enough for everyone," Andre replied diplomatically. Tyler sat down next to him, uncomfortably close. "So, Andre, tell us about yourself. Where'd you move from? Why'd you come to Westlake?" There was something in his tone that put Andre on edge, but he answered anyway. "We moved from the city. My dad got a new job here." "What does your dad do?" Liam asked, a freckle-faced boy with an intense stare. "He's a doctor." Tyler exchanged looks with his friends. "A doctor, huh? What kind? Like a dentist or something?" "No, he's a—" "Let me guess," Devin interrupted. "He's one of those diversity hire doctors they bring in to make the hospital brochures look good." The comment hung in the air, its meaning unmistakable. Andre felt a flash of anger but kept his expression neutral. "Actually, he's a neurosurgeon. One of the best in the country." Tyler snorted. "Sure he is. And my dad's an astronaut." The boys laughed, and Andre felt his cheeks grow warm. He knew he shouldn't care what these guys thought, but their mockery stung nonetheless. "Look, I'm just trying to eat my lunch," Andre said, his voice steady despite his discomfort. "I'm not looking for trouble." "Who said anything about trouble?" Tyler asked, his fake innocent tone belied by the gleam in his eyes. "We're just getting to know our new classmate." He picked up Andre's physics textbook, which was lying on the table. "Advanced theoretical physics, huh? Trying to impress the teachers on your first day?" "It's just the regular textbook," Andre replied, reaching for it. "Everyone in the class has the same one." Tyler held it just out of reach. "But not everyone sits in class acting like they know all the answers already." "I knew the answer to one question," Andre pointed out, trying to keep his cool. "It's not a big deal." "You're right, it's not," Tyler agreed, suddenly tossing the book back onto the table, causing Andre's water bottle to tip over. Water spilled across the table and onto Andre's lap before he could catch it. "Oops," Tyler said with a smirk. "Looks like you had an accident." Andre grabbed some napkins and tried to dry his pants. "Why are you doing this?" he asked quietly. "You don't even know me." "Maybe I just don't like the way you carry yourself," Tyler replied, his voice dropping to match Andre's. "Like you're better than everyone else." "I never said or thought that," Andre protested. "You didn't have to. It's written all over you." Tyler stood up, signaling to his friends that they were leaving. "Word of advice, new kid. Westlake has a certain way of doing things. Try to fit in instead of standing out, and you'll have a much easier time here." The group left, laughing among themselves, leaving Andre alone at the table with his wet pants and scattered belongings. A few students at nearby tables had noticed the interaction, but quickly looked away when Andre glanced in their direction. He sighed, gathering his things. So much for making a good first impression. As he headed to the bathroom to try and dry his pants, he couldn't help wondering if the rest of his time at Westlake would be like this. His dad's words from that morning echoed in his mind. "You've always been good at finding your way." He hoped that would still be true here. What Andre didn't notice was a girl sitting a few tables away, who had watched the entire scene with a frown on her face. Nor did he see her get up and follow Tyler's group out of the cafeteria, her expression determined. The first day at Westlake High had been rough, but it wasn't over yet. Not by a long shot. 2 weeks had passed since Andre's first day at Westlake High, and things had only gotten worse. What started as uncomfortable encounters with Tyler and his friends had escalated into a daily ordeal that Andre dreaded facing each morning. The hallways had become a minefield. Andre never knew when Tyler's group might appear around a corner or emerge from a classroom. They seemed to have memorized his schedule, finding ways to cross his path between almost every class. Sometimes it was just comments whispered as they passed, remarks about his clothes, his hair, or suggestions that he didn't belong at Westlake. Other times it was more physical, a shoulder check that sent his books flying. A foot stuck out to trip him, or the sudden slam of a locker door just as he walked by. This morning, Andre stood at his locker, exchanging books for his afternoon classes. He'd developed the bit of glancing both ways before opening it, scanning the hallway for any sign of Tyler's crew. They weren't in sight, so he quickly swapped his history textbook for chemistry and math. "Hey, Andre, right?" Andre turned, instinctively tensing but relaxed when he saw it was a girl from his English class. Zoe, he remembered. She was petite with curly hair pulled back in a ponytail, and she carried a camera around her neck. "Yeah, that's me," he replied, closing his locker. "I'm Zoe Chen. We have Mr. Peterson's class together." She shifted uncomfortably. "Look, I saw what happened in the cafeteria on your first day, and I've noticed other things since then." Andre's expression remained neutral. He wasn't sure what she wanted from him. "It's not right," she continued, lowering her voice. "What Tyler and those guys are doing. Have you told anyone?" Andre shook his head. "It's fine. I'm handling it." "By handling it, you mean letting them walk all over you?" Zoe frowned. "You know, Tyler got away with this last year too, with another kid who eventually transferred out. Nobody did anything then either." The warning bell rang, saving Andre from having to respond. "I've got to get to class," he said, stepping away. "Thanks for your concern, though." "Wait," Zoe called after him. "I'm on the school newspaper. I've been working on a piece about bullying at Westlake. If you ever want to talk about it." "I don't," Andre said firmly. "No offense, but I'm not interested in becoming a headline." He hurried down the hallway, leaving Zoe looking frustrated behind him. In chemistry lab that afternoon, Andre was partnered with Devin, one of Tyler's friends. The teacher, Mrs. Rodriguez, had assigned pairs for the semester-long project on chemical reactions, and Andre had been unlucky enough to draw Devin's name. "Let's just get this over with," Devin muttered as they set up their experiment. "I don't want to be here any more than you do." "Fine by me," Andre replied, focusing on measuring the correct amount of solution for their beaker. They worked mostly in silence, communicating only when necessary about the experiment. Andre was surprised to find that Devin actually seemed to know what he was doing, carefully following the procedure and taking notes on their observations. As they waited for their solution to change color, Devin unexpectedly spoke up. "You're pretty good at this stuff, huh?" Andre looked up, trying to gauge if there was mockery behind the question. "Chemistry? Yeah, I guess. My old school had a good science program." Devin nodded, then lowered his voice. "Look, about Tyler and all that. It's not personal, you know." "Feels pretty personal," Andre replied dryly. "It's just..." Devin hesitated. "Tyler's dad is like super important in this town. His family practically built half the school. And Tyler, he has expectations to live up to. So that gives him the right to make my life miserable?" Devin shrugged uncomfortably. "I'm just saying that's how things work here. Tyler picks the targets and everyone else either joins in or stays out of the way. And you chose to join in," Andre observed. Devin didn't answer, turning his attention back to their experiment. "Solutions changing color. We should record the time." They completed the lab in silence, and when the bell rang, Devin quickly gathered his things and left without another word. Andre stayed behind, taking extra time to clean their workstation. He was in no hurry to enter the crowded hallway where he might run into Tyler. When Andre finally left the classroom, the corridor was mostly empty. He headed toward the gym for his last class of the day, physical education. It was easily his least favorite subject, not because he disliked sports, but because it meant changing in the locker room where Tyler and his friends had free rein, without teacher supervision. As expected, the moment Andre walked into the locker room, the atmosphere changed. Conversations hushed momentarily before resuming at an artificially loud volume. He made his way to his assigned locker, keeping his eyes forward, ignoring the stares and whispers. "Well, if it isn't the boy genius," Tyler called out from across the room. "Slumming it with us regular folks in gym class?" Andre said nothing, opening his locker and pulling out his gym clothes. "What's the matter? Too good to talk to us now?" Tyler approached, flanked by Chris and Liam. Devin hung back, pretending to be busy with his own locker. "Just trying to change and get to class," Andre said, still not looking at them. "You know what I heard?" Tyler said loudly, ensuring everyone in the locker room could hear. "I heard the only reason Taylor here got accepted to Westlake is because of some diversity program. Isn't that right, Taylor? Did your daddy have to make a special phone call to get you in?" Several boys snickered. Andre felt his ears burning but continued changing his clothes, refusing to give Tyler the satisfaction of seeing him rattled. I mean, there's no way he got in on merit alone. Tyler continued. Our waiting list is like 2 years long for regular applicants. Maybe he got in because he's smart. A voice spoke up from a few lockers down. Andre turned to see a stocky boy with glasses looking at Tyler defiantly. He answers every question right in AP Calculus. When's the last time you did that, Tyler? Tyler's face darkened. Nobody asked you, Wilson. Mind your own business, or what? Wilson challenged, stepping closer. You'll add me to your list? Go ahead. Some of us aren't afraid of you. For a moment, it looked like Tyler might lash out, but Coach Bennett chose that moment to enter the locker room. What's the holdup, gentlemen? Everyone should be changed and in the gym by now. Let's move. The standoff dissolved as everyone hurried to finish changing. As Andre headed for the door, Wilson fell into step beside him. Thanks, Andre said quietly. Wilson shrugged. Don't mention it. I'm Preston, by the way. Those guys are jerks to pretty much everyone they see as different or a threat. Last year it was this Korean exchange student. Year before that, a kid with a stutter. Charming, Andre commented dryly. So why doesn't anyone stop them? Tyler's dad is on the school board and his family donates a lot of money to the school. The administration tends to look the other way. Preston held the gym door open. But not everyone here is like them, just so you know. Gym class was dodgeball, which felt like a cruel joke given Andre's situation. Predictably, Tyler and his friends immediately targeted him, hurling balls with unnecessary force. Andre managed to dodge most of them, even catching one that Chris threw, sending him to the sidelines temporarily. This small victory earned Andre some appreciative nods from teammates who had previously ignored him. After class, Andre took his time in the shower, waiting until most of the other boys had left the locker room. He was just getting dressed when he heard a commotion by his locker. He hurried over to find Tyler and Liam rifling through his backpack. What are you doing? Andre demanded, reaching for his bag. Tyler held it away from him. Just checking to see if you've been cheating. No one's as smart as you pretend to be. Give it back, Andre said, his voice steady despite his rising anger. That's my property, or what? Tyler challenged, dumping the contents onto the floor. Books, notebooks, and pencils scattered across the tiles. What are you going to do about it, Taylor? Andre looked around. The locker room was nearly empty now, with just a few stragglers who were deliberately not watching what was happening. Coach Bennett had already returned to his office. Nothing, Andre finally said, kneeling to gather his belongings. I'm not going to do anything. That's what I thought. Tyler smirked, kicking a notebook further away. All talk, no action. Just like all the other. I wouldn't finish that sentence if I were you, came a voice from the doorway. Zoe stood there, her camera in hand, clearly recording. Unless you want to be the star of my next article. Privileged students harass new classmate. Tyler's face reddened. You can't record in here. This is the boys' locker room. Relax, I'm in the doorway, not inside, Zoe replied calmly. And everyone's dressed. Besides, this is for the school paper. It's covered under journalistic documentation. Delete that right now, Tyler demanded, advancing toward her. Or what? You'll add me to your harassment list too? Zoe didn't back down. That would make for an even better story, don't you think? Bully targets female reporter for exposing misconduct. Liam tugged on Tyler's arm. Come on, man. It's not worth it. Let's go. Tyler glared at Zoe, then at Andre. This isn't over, he muttered before storming out with Liam in tow. Once they were gone, Zoe lowered her camera and came to help Andre pick up his belongings. You okay? Yeah, Andre said, though his hands were shaking slightly as he gathered his papers. Thanks for stepping in. No problem. Though I was bluffing about the school paper, Mr. Collins would never run a story that might upset the Davidson family. She handed him a textbook. You really should report this, you know. Andre shook his head. What's the point? Like your friend said, Tyler's dad is on the school board. Nothing will happen. So you're just going to take it? For how long? Zoe looked at him searchingly. Until you transfer schools? Until something worse happens? I don't know, Andre admitted, zipping up his now repacked backpack. But getting adults involved usually makes these things worse, not better. Zoe didn't look convinced, but she didn't push further. Well, if you change your mind or if things get worse, I saved the video. She headed for the door, then paused. And Andre? Some of us actually think it's cool having someone smart in class who isn't afraid to speak up. Don't let Tyler make you think otherwise. After she left, Andre sat on the bench for a long moment, trying to process everything. It had been a month since they'd moved to this town, and he still felt completely out of place. At his old school, he'd had friends, respect, a place where he belonged. Here, he was an outsider being punished simply for existing. He thought about telling his parents what was happening, but quickly dismissed the idea. His dad was already working long hours at the new hospital, and his mom was busy setting up her therapy practice in their new community. They had enough to worry about without adding his school troubles to the list. As Andre finally left the locker room, he didn't notice Tyler watching him from around the corner, his expression a mixture of anger and calculation. The confrontation had been interrupted today, but tomorrow would be another story entirely. Friday night at Westlake High meant basketball. The gymnasium buzzed with excitement as students, parents, and faculty packed the bleachers for the big game against their crosstown rivals, the Jefferson Wildcats. The cheerleaders practiced their routines along the sidelines while the pep band warmed up in the corner. Andre hadn't planned on attending. After 6 weeks at Westlake, he still hadn't found his place in the social landscape. But his parents had encouraged him to participate in school activities, to give himself a chance to connect with his classmates outside the classroom. Basketball was your favorite back home, his mom had reminded him that morning. At least go and see what their team is like. You might enjoy it. So here he was, slipping through the crowd looking for a seat where he wouldn't be too noticeable. He spotted an empty space in the middle section of the bleachers and made his way toward it. "Hey, Andre." "Over here!" He turned to see Preston waving at him from a few rows up. Beside him sat Zoe and a couple of other students Andre recognized from his classes but hadn't spoken to. "We saved you a seat," Preston called, patting the bench beside him. Andre hesitated, then climbed up to join them. "Thanks," he said, settling in next to Preston. "I didn't know you guys were basketball fans." "I'm not really," Preston admitted with a grin. "But it's better than sitting at home on a Friday night. Plus, the concession stand has decent nachos." "I'm here for the photos," Zoe explained, holding up her camera. "Yearbook committee needs action shots." The others introduced themselves as Leo and Aisha, both from Andre's English class. "We've been wondering when you'd finally show up to something fun," Aisha said. "You always disappear after the last bell," Andre shrugged. "Been settling in, I guess." "Well, you're here now," Leo said, offering him some popcorn from a large bag. "And you picked a good game to attend. Tyler's the team captain, and he's been bragging all week about how he's going to destroy Jefferson." Andre stiffened at the mention of Tyler. "I didn't know he was on the team." "Captain and star player," Preston confirmed, pointing to the court where the players were now warming up. Tyler was easy to spot, directing his teammates with the same authoritative presence he displayed in the hallways. "Great," Andre muttered. Maybe this wasn't such a good idea. "Hey, don't let him ruin it," Zoe said firmly. "This is a school event, not Tyler's private kingdom. You have every right to be here." Before Andre could respond, the crowd erupted in cheers as the Westlake Lions took the court for pre-game introductions. The announcer's voice boomed through the gymnasium, introducing each player by name, position, and number. When he called Tyler's name, the crowd went wild, many students standing to cheer. "And that's why he gets away with so much," Preston said under his breath. "Half the school worships him because he can put a ball through a hoop." The game began with high energy, both teams playing aggressive defense. By halftime, Westlake was leading by a slim margin of 5 points, and the crowd was in a frenzy of excitement. "I'm going to grab some nachos before the line gets too long," Preston announced, standing up. "Anyone want anything?" "I'll come with you," Andre offered, feeling the need to stretch his legs. "I could use a drink anyway." They made their way down the bleachers and headed toward the concession stand in the lobby. The line was already forming as other spectators had the same idea. "So, what do you think of the mighty Lions?" Preston asked as they waited. "They're pretty good," Andre admitted. "Tyler's talented, I'll give him that." "Yeah, he's actually got a scholarship offer from state already. That's part of why he struts around like he owns the place." Preston adjusted his glasses. "Basketball is everything in this town. My dad says it's been that way since he was in school here." "Was it this way at your old school?" he asked, glancing at Andre. "Not really. We had decent sports teams, but it wasn't such a big deal. People were into all kinds of things, art, music, robotics club. No one group ran the school. Sounds nice, Preston said wistfully. Here it's like we're living in some cliched teen movie where jocks rule and everyone else just tries to stay out of their way. They reached the front of the line and placed their orders. As they waited for their food, Andre noticed the hallway leading to the locker rooms. I'm going to find the bathroom, he told Preston. Save my place? Sure, but hurry back. Halftime's almost over. Andre headed down the hallway following the signs to the restrooms. He was washing his hands when the bathroom door swung open and Tyler walked in, still in his basketball uniform. He stopped short when he saw Andre. Well, look who it is, Tyler said, his voice echoing off the tile walls. Didn't expect to see you at a basketball game, Taylor. Figured you'd be home studying or something. Andre dried his hands, saying nothing. What's the matter?
Cat got your tongue?
Tyler moved to block the exit. Or are you too good to talk to the rest of us? I'm just here to watch the game, Tyler, Andre said evenly. Like everyone else. See, that's what bothers me about you, Tyler said, taking a step closer. You act like you're just like everyone else, but we both know you're not. You walk around this school like you're better than all of us, with your perfect grades and your fancy vocabulary. I've never said or done anything to suggest that, Andre countered, maintaining eye contact despite the tension building in his chest. I'm just trying to get through the school year like everyone else. That's not how it looks from where I'm standing, Tyler argued. You come into our school, start showing off in all the AP classes, making the rest of us look stupid. That's not what I'm doing, Andre interrupted, his patience wearing thin. And even if it was, why do you care? You're the basketball star with a scholarship to state. Why does it bother you so much that I answer questions in class? Tyler seemed momentarily caught off guard by the direct question. Before he could respond, the door opened again and several other basketball players walked in, including Devin and Chris. Coach is looking for you, Tyler, Chris announced. Halftime talk starts in 2 minutes. Tyler's expression shifted as he remembered where he was supposed to be. This isn't finished, he told Andre before turning to leave with his teammates. Devin lingered behind for a moment. You shouldn't be down here alone, he said in a low voice. This area is just for players during games. I didn't see any signs, Andre replied. There aren't any. But still. Devin glanced toward the door where the others had exited. Just be careful, okay? He hurried after his teammates, leaving Andre confused by the warning. He waited a minute to ensure they were gone, then headed back to the gymnasium. Preston was waiting with the food. What took you so long? You missed the dance team's performance. Ran into Tyler in the bathroom, Andre said, taking his nachos and soda. Preston's eyes widened. And you're still in one piece? What happened? Nothing really. Just the usual threats and posturing. Andre took a drink. One of his friends actually warned me to be careful, though, Devin. Devin Mitchell? Preston looked surprised. He's usually Tyler's shadow. Never says much on his own. They made their way back to their seats as the teams returned to the court for the second half. What did he warn you about specifically? Zoe asked, leaning in after overhearing their conversation. He just said I shouldn't be in that area alone, that it was for players during games. Andre shrugged. Maybe he was just trying to keep me out of trouble. Or warning you about something else, Aisha suggested. Tyler's been extra worked up this week. I heard him and his friends talking in history class about some plan for after the game. Andre felt a chill that had nothing to do with the gymnasium's air conditioning. What kind of plan? I don't know. They shut up when they noticed me listening. Aisha looked apologetic, but it didn't sound good. The second half of the game was even more intense than the first. The lead changed hands several times, with both teams playing aggressive defense. Tyler was a dominant force on the court, scoring point after point and directing his teammates with confident authority. Even Andre had to admit he was impressive to watch. With 30 seconds left on the clock, Westlake was down by 1 point. The coach called a timeout, gathering the team for a final strategy. When play resumed, everyone in the gym was on their feet, the noise deafening as Tyler received the ball at the top of the key. With 5 seconds remaining, he drove toward the basket, drawing 2 defenders before passing to an open teammate who sank the winning shot as the buzzer sounded. The crowd erupted, students pouring onto the court to celebrate with the team. And that's why he gets away with murder, presto. And shouted over the noise, watching as Tyler was hoisted onto his teammates' shoulders. When you bring glory to Westlake, they let you do whatever you want. I should get going, Andre said, suddenly anxious to be out of there. My parents are expecting me home. We'll walk out with you, Zoe offered, gathering her camera equipment. I need to get these photos uploaded tonight anyway. The 5 of them pushed their way through the celebrating crowd toward the exit. The lobby was packed with students and parents, everyone talking excitedly about the game's dramatic finish. There's going to be a party at Ryan Miller's house, Leo mentioned as they reached the doors. His parents are out of town. You guys want to go? Preston and Aisha nodded enthusiastically. Andre, Zoe? Aisha asked. You should come. It'll be fun. Andre hesitated. He'd never been invited to a party at Westlake before. I don't know. Come on, Preston urged. It's Friday night. Live a little? Okay, Andre finally agreed. But I need to call my parents first. I'll come too, Zoe decided. But I have to drop off my camera at home. I can meet you guys there. They exchanged phone numbers and addresses, then split up to get their cars. Andre headed for the student parking lot where he'd left his car. A used Honda his parents had bought him when they moved, knowing he'd need transportation in the suburbs. The lot was dimly lit and still half full, with many students lingering to celebrate or waiting for rides. Andre scanned the rows for his car, spotting it near the back where he'd had to park due to arriving late. As he approached, he noticed something wasn't right. His car was sitting at an odd angle, and as he got closer, he could see why. All 4 tires were flat, the rubber slashed and ruined. No way, he muttered, circling the vehicle in disbelief. This was no accident. Someone had deliberately vandalized his car. Looking for something? Andre whirled around to find Tyler standing a few yards away, still in his basketball uniform but now wearing a jacket against the night chill. Behind him stood Chris, Liam, and 3 other boys Andre recognized from the team. Did you do this? Andre asked, gesturing to his car. Tyler smirked. Do what? I don't see anything wrong. All 4 tires are slashed. I know it was you. That's a serious accusation, Tyler said, stepping closer. You got any proof? Because I've been on the basketball court for the last 2 hours with about 500 witnesses. He was right, of course. Andre had no proof, and even if he reported it, it would be his word against Tyler's. And Tyler had an ironclad alibi. He'd clearly had someone else do the dirty work for him. What do you want from me? Andre asked, his voice tight with controlled anger. Why are you doing this? I told you weeks ago, Tyler replied. Westlake has a certain way of doing things. A certain order. You come in here thinking you're special, that the rules don't apply to you. What rules? Andre interrupted, his patience finally snapping. The rule that says I should pretend to be stupid so you can feel better about yourself? The rule that says I should let you and your friends push me around because you throw a ball well? Those rules? A small crowd had begun to gather, attracted by the raised voices. Andre was aware of people watching but found he no longer cared. I've never done anything to you, he continued, taking a step toward Tyler. Never challenged you, never disrespected you, never even talked about you to anyone else. All I've done is go to class and answer questions when teachers call on me. And for that, you've spent weeks making my life miserable. Tyler's face darkened, not used to being confronted so directly, especially in front of an audience. You think you're so smart, don't you? But you don't understand how things work here. I understand perfectly, Andre replied. You're a bully who's never been held accountable for anything in your life. You target people who are different because it makes you feel powerful, and everyone lets you get away with it because you can shoot a basketball. The crowd had grown larger now, with students forming a circle around them. Some had their phones out recording the confrontation. You don't know anything about me, Tyler snarled, stepping closer until they were face to face. I know enough, Andre said, refusing to back down. I know you're afraid of anyone who might outshine you in any way. I know you surround yourself with people who never challenge you because you can't handle criticism. And I know that whatever you do to me, slash my tires, steal my books, spread rumors, it won't change the fact that your identity is tied to a game, while mine isn't tied to what anyone else thinks of me. For a moment, it looked like Tyler might hit him, his fists clenched at his sides, his face contorted with rage. The crowd grew quiet. Tension thick in the air as everyone waited to see what would happen next. Then, from the edge of the crowd, a new voice called out, "What's going on here?" The students parted as Mr. Reynolds, the vice principal, pushed his way through, followed closely by Coach Bennett. Davidson, Taylor, would someone like to explain why there's a crowd gathered in the parking lot? Before either boy could respond, Zoe stepped forward. Tyler and his friends slashed Andre's tires, she said. pointing to the damaged car. And now they're threatening him. That's a lie. Tyler protested immediately. I've been playing basketball for the last 2 hours. Everyone saw me. Tell them, Coach. Coach Bennett nodded reluctantly. Tyler was on the court until about 10 minutes ago. There's no way he could have done this. Maybe not personally, Zoe argued, but he could have had someone else do it. And he's definitely threatening Andre right now. I have it on video. She held up her phone, which had been recording the entire confrontation. Mr. Reynolds looked troubled. Let me see the car. He walked over to examine Andre's vehicle, shining his phone's flashlight on the flattened tires. This is serious vandalism. We'll need to file a police report. A police report? Tyler scoffed. For some flat tires? Come on, it was probably just a prank by some freshmen. 4 deliberately slashed tires isn't a prank, Mr. Davidson, the vice principal said firmly. It's destruction of property and potentially a hate crime depending on the motivation. The word hate hung in the air, causing several students to shift uncomfortably. That's ridiculous, Tyler sputtered. No one said anything about, this has nothing to do with... He stopped, suddenly aware of how he sounded. With what, Tyler? Andre asked quietly, looking him directly in the eyes. What exactly does this have to do with? For once, Tyler had no ready answer. The silence stretched uncomfortably as the implications of what had been happening became clear to everyone watching. I think we should continue this discussion in my office, Mr. Reynolds finally said. Tyler, Andre, come with me. Coach Bennett, please disperse this crowd. Everyone else, the game is over. Time to head home. As the crowd reluctantly began to break up, Andre caught Zoe's eye. She gave him a small, encouraging nod. Whatever happened next, he wasn't alone anymore. For the first time since coming to Westlake, he felt a flicker of hope that things might actually change. The weekend passed in a blur of phone calls and meetings. After filing the police report about Andre's slashed tires, his parents had been furious, not at him, but at the situation. His mother, normally the calmer of his parents, had been especially vocal about the school's apparent negligence. We moved here for better opportunities, she had said during a tense Saturday morning conversation with Principal Greenwood over the phone. Not for our son to be harassed and intimidated. Andre sat in the kitchen, picking at his breakfast and listening as his mother's voice grew increasingly firm. She was a child psychologist by profession and knew exactly what words like hostile environment and systemic negligence would do to a school administrator. Yes, I understand there will be a full investigation, she was saying now. But what I want to know is what immediate steps you're taking to ensure my son's safety on Monday morning. His father, who had been uncharacteristically quiet during the discussion, finally spoke up when his mother ended the call. I think it's time I came to the school in person, he said, his deep voice calm but resolute. There's a school board meeting next week, isn't there? The one they mentioned during orientation? Andre nodded reluctantly. Wednesday evening. They do it monthly. He hesitated. But Dad, I don't want to make this a bigger deal than it already is. If you show up at the school board meeting, this is already a big deal, son. His father interrupted gently. Your car was vandalized. You've been harassed for weeks, and from what your friends told the police, this isn't even the first time something like this has happened at that school. He was right, of course. After the confrontation in the parking lot, Preston and Zoe had stepped forward with stories of other students who'd been targeted by Tyler and his crew over the years. Most had either transferred schools or learned to keep their heads down. None had reported it officially, fearing exactly the kind of retaliation Andre had experienced. I know you want to handle this on your own, his father continued, and I respect that. But sometimes systems only change when someone with influence forces them to pay attention. Andre knew what his father was referring to. Dr. Raymond Taylor wasn't just any neurosurgeon. He was one of the most respected in his field, recently recruited to be chief of neurosurgery at Westlake Memorial Hospital, the largest employer in the county and a major donor to the school district. His appointment had been big news in medical circles, though the Taylor family had kept a low profile since moving to town. Just don't make it about me specifically, okay? Andre asked. I still have to go to school there. His father nodded. I understand. This isn't just about you anyway, it's about making sure this doesn't happen to anyone else. Monday morning arrived with a sense of dread. Andre's car was still in the shop getting new tires, so his mother drove him to school. As they pulled up to the entrance, she turned to him with concern in her eyes. "You sure you're ready for this? You could take another day if you need it." "I'm fine, Mom," Andre assured her, though his stomach was in knots. "The longer I stay away, the worse it'll be when I go back." She reached over to straighten his collar, a habit from when he was younger. Principal Greenwood said they've scheduled a meeting with Tyler and his parents this afternoon. "You don't have to attend if you don't want to." "I'll decide later," Andre said, gathering his backpack. "Depends how the day goes." The hallways were unusually subdued as Andre made his way to his locker. Students watched him pass, some whispering to each other, others quickly looking away when he glanced in their direction. Word of Friday night's confrontation had clearly spread throughout the school. "Andre," he turned to see Zoe hurrying toward him, Preston close behind. "You came," she said, sounding relieved. "We weren't sure you would." "Can't hide forever," Andre replied with a shrug. "How bad is it?" "Mixed reactions," Preston reported. "Some people are finally talking about Tyler's behavior. Others are defending him, saying it's all being blown out of proportion. The school paper wanted to run a story about it," Zoe added. "But Mr. Collins shut it down, saying we can't report on ongoing disciplinary matters, as if everyone isn't already talking about it." Andre opened his locker, half expecting to find it vandalized, but everything was exactly as he'd left it. "Has anyone seen Tyler today?" Preston shook his head. "Not yet. But Chris and Devin are here. They're keeping a low profile, though." The warning bell rang, signaling 5 minutes until first period. "We should get to class," Andre said. "I've got AP Physics first thing." "We'll walk with you," Zoe offered, falling into step beside him. "Safety and numbers and all that." The morning passed with an air of tense normalcy. Teachers taught their lessons, students took notes, and the routine of the school day provided a thin veneer of ordinariness over the undercurrent of gossip and speculation. Andre noticed that Chris was in his calculus class but avoided making eye contact, staring fixedly at his textbook the entire period. By lunchtime, Andre was emotionally exhausted from the constant stares and whispers. He, Preston, and Zoe claimed a table in the corner of the cafeteria, joined by Aisha and Leo, who had been texting supportive messages all weekend. "So what happens now?" Leo asked, unwrapping his sandwich. "Is Tyler going to get suspended or what?" "I don't know," Andre admitted. "There's supposed to be a meeting with him and his parents this afternoon, but no one said what the consequences might be. His dad will probably find a way to make it all disappear," Aisha said cynically. "That's what happened last time." "Last time?" Andre looked up. "You mean with the Korean exchange student Preston mentioned?" Aisha nodded. "Minjun Park, he was here for a semester last year. Tyler and his friends made his life miserable, called him racist names, stole his assignments, locked him in the janitor's closet once. When Minjun finally reported it, Mr. Davidson showed up at school the next day, had a private meeting with Principal Greenwood, and suddenly it was all a misunderstanding. Minjun transferred to Jefferson 2 weeks later," Preston added. "No one ever faced any consequences." Andre pushed his food around his plate, appetite gone. "So even with police involvement, nothing's going to change?" "Maybe, maybe not," Zoe said thoughtfully. "This time it's different. There are police reports, multiple witnesses, video evidence, and from what I've heard, your parents aren't backing down easily." The cafeteria suddenly grew quiet, the usual lunchtime chatter fading as Tyler entered with Liam and 2 other basketball players. He looked around, his gaze eventually landing on Andre's table. For a moment it seemed like he might approach them, but instead he headed for a table on the opposite side of the room. "Well, that's new," Preston remarked. "Usually he'd be over here making some kind of scene." "Maybe he got warned to stay away from me," Andre suggested. "Or maybe he's actually feeling some consequences for once in his life," Aisha said. The rest of the day passed without incident. Andre attended his classes, participated in discussions, and tried to ignore the continuing undercurrent of whispers that followed him through the hallways. By the final bell, he had almost begun to believe that things might be changing. As he headed toward the main office for the scheduled meeting with Tyler and the administrators, he spotted Devin leaning against a wall near the water fountain, apparently waiting for someone. When he saw Andre, he straightened up. "Hey," he said awkwardly. "Can I talk to you for a second?" Andre hesitated, looking around to see if this was some kind of setup. "What about?" I wanted to say I'm sorry," Devin said, his voice low. "About your car, about everything. I didn't slash your tires, I swear. but I knew some of the guys were planning something and I didn't stop them or warn you. Why are you telling me this now? Andre asked, genuinely curious. Devin glanced down at his shoes. My dad saw the video, someone posted it online. He was really upset, said he didn't raise me to stand by while someone gets bullied. He looked up, meeting Andre's eyes. He's right. I should have said something sooner. Before Andre could respond, the office door opened and Principal Greenwood stepped out, along with Vice Principal Reynolds. Ah, Andre. Good. You're here, Principal Greenwood said. We're ready to begin the meeting. He noticed Devin standing nearby. Mr. Mitchell, unless you have business with the office, I suggest you head home. Devin nodded, giving Andre one last apologetic look before walking away. Andre followed the administrators into the office, where Tyler was already seated with a man who could only be his father. They shared the same square jaw and confident posture. Mrs. Davidson, a thin woman with carefully styled blonde hair, sat rigidly beside them. Andre, please sit down. Principal Greenwood indicated a chair across from the Davidsons. Your parents couldn't join us? My mom had appointments she couldn't reschedule, and my dad is in surgery until this evening, Andre explained, taking the offered seat. We can reschedule if you'd prefer to have them present, Mr. Reynolds suggested. It's fine, Andre assured him. They trust me to represent myself. In truth, his parents had offered to cancel their commitments, but Andre had insisted he could handle it. After all, he'd been dealing with Tyler on his own for weeks. Very well, Principal Greenwood said, taking his seat behind the desk. As you all know, we're here to discuss the events of Friday night after the basketball game, as well as the pattern of behavior that preceded it. Mr. Davidson cleared his throat. Before we go further, I want to make it clear that my son categorically denies having anything to do with the vandalism of Mr. Taylor's car. He was playing basketball at the time with dozens of witnesses. That's correct, Principal Greenwood acknowledged. However, there are videos showing Tyler confronting Andre in the parking lot afterward, making what could be construed as threatening statements. Boys trash-talking isn't a disciplinary matter, Mr. Davidson argued. It's part of growing up. With all due respect, Mr. Davidson, what's on those videos goes beyond trash-talking, Mr. Reynolds countered. And according to multiple student statements, this isn't an isolated incident. There's been a pattern of harassment going back several weeks. Tyler shifted uncomfortably in his chair but remained silent, his eyes fixed on the floor. What exactly are you implying? Mrs. Davidson asked, her voice sharp. That my son is some kind of... What was the term you used on the phone? A bully. The evidence suggests... Principal Greenwood began, but Mr. Davidson cut him off. My family has been part of this community for 4 generations, he said, leaning forward. We've donated hundreds of thousands of dollars to this school. The gymnasium is named after my grandfather, for God's sake, and now you're taking the word of a newcomer over my sons? The slight hesitation before newcomer wasn't lost on anyone in the room. Andre felt a familiar tightness in his chest but kept his expression neutral. We're not taking anyone's word alone, Principal Greenwood said firmly. We have video evidence, police reports, and statements from multiple students. This isn't about who's been in the community longer, Mr. Davidson. It's about creating a safe environment for all our students. And what about my son's environment? Mr. Davidson demanded. His reputation is being dragged through the mud right before college recruitment season. Do you have any idea what kind of damage this could do to his future? Dad? Tyler finally spoke, his voice unusually subdued. Maybe we should just... Be quiet, Tyler, his father snapped. This is your future we're talking about. He turned back to the principal. I want to know exactly what kind of punishment you're proposing. And on what grounds? Principal Greenwood straightened some papers on his desk, clearly uncomfortable with the confrontation but standing his ground. Based on the evidence, we are recommending a 2-week suspension for Tyler, mandatory counseling sessions with Dr. River, and removal from team captaincy for the remainder of the season. The room fell silent. Then Mr. Davidson laughed, a short, harsh sound. That's absurd. You're going to bench your star player in the middle of a championship season over some schoolyard disagreements? Slash tires aren't a schoolyard disagreement, Amber Reynolds pointed out. And again, this appears to be part of a pattern. Mrs. Davidson placed a restraining hand on her husband's arm. Perhaps we should discuss this at home first, she suggested quietly. Consider our options. What options? Mr. Davidson demanded. They've clearly made up their minds already. He stood abruptly, The school board will hear about this. I've been a member for 8 years. They respect my opinion, unlike some people in this room. You're certainly welcome to appeal to the board, Principal Greenwood said, maintaining his composure. But I should inform you that Dr. Taylor, Andre's father, has been invited to speak at Wednesday's meeting about the broader issue of bullying in our school. Given his position at the hospital and his expertise in adolescent development, the board was quite eager to hear his perspective. Mr. Davidson froze. Dr. Taylor? He repeated slowly. Raymond Taylor? The new chief of neurosurgery? Yes, that's correct, Principal Greenwood confirmed. Dr. Taylor is Andre's father. The change in the room was immediate and palpable. Mrs. Davidson's eyes widened in shock, and Mr. Davidson slowly sank back into his chair, his expression stunned. Raymond Taylor is your father? He asked, turning to Andre. Andre nodded, maintaining eye contact. Yes, sir. Tyler had gone pale, looking between his father and Andre with dawning horror. The neurosurgeon? The one who did that surgery on the governor last year? That's your dad? Among other accomplishments, yes, Andre replied evenly. The Davidsons exchanged glances, a silent communication passing between them. Mr. Davidson's demeanor had completely changed, his earlier bluster replaced by something almost like fear. I didn't realize, he said finally. We should have been introduced properly at some community function. My parents have been quite busy with the transition, Andre explained. My dad's been setting up his new department at the hospital, and my mom is establishing her psychology practice. Your mother is Dr. Lisa Taylor, the child psychologist? Mrs. Davidson asked, her voice faint. I've read her books. Andre nodded again, feeling a strange mix of emotions. On one hand, it was satisfying to see the Davidsons so thoroughly rattled. On the other, it bothered him that his parents' credentials suddenly made him worthy of respect in their eyes, when nothing else had. Well, this changes things, Mr. Davidson said, straightening his tie. Perhaps we've been hasty in our response. Tyler, I think you owe Andre an apology. Tyler looked like he wanted to sink through the floor. I'm sorry, he mumbled, not meeting Andre's eyes. For what specifically? His mother prompted. Tyler swallowed hard. For the things I said, and for how my friends and I have been treating you. It was wrong. The apology felt hollow to Andre, motivated by fear rather than genuine remorse, but he nodded his acceptance anyway. Thank you, Principal Greenwood cleared his throat. This is a positive step, but it doesn't change our decision regarding the disciplinary actions. Tyler will still serve his suspension, attend counseling, and step down as team captain temporarily. For a moment it looked like Mr. Davidson might argue, but instead he nodded stiffly. We understand, and will be discussing additional consequences at home. He stood, gesturing for his wife and son to do the same. If there's nothing else, I think we should go. Just one more thing, Andre said, also rising. This isn't just about me. There have been other students targeted before me, and there might be others after I'm gone if nothing really changes. I hope that's understood. Mr. Davidson regarded him for a long moment, then nodded curtly. Understood. Good day to you all. As the Davidsons filed out, Andre couldn't help noticing how Tyler's shoulders slumped, his usual confident stride replaced by something more uncertain. It wasn't satisfaction he felt watching them go, but rather a complicated mix of relief, vindication, and a touch of empathy. He knew what it was like to have your world turned upside down in an instant. Are you all right, Andre? Mr. Reynolds asked once the door had closed behind the Davidsons. I'm fine, Andre assured him. Just processing everything. Your father's presentation on Wednesday should be quite impactful, Principal Greenwood commented. Perhaps you could tell him that we're implementing a new anti-bullying initiative that will be announced at the same meeting. The timing seems appropriate. Andre smiled slightly, recognizing the political maneuvering for what it was. I'll tell him. I'm sure he'll be pleased to hear it. As he left the office, Andre felt lighter than he had in weeks. The problem wasn't solved, not completely, but something had shifted. For the first time since arriving at Westlake, he felt like he might actually find his place here after all. Outside, he spotted Zoe, Preston, and Aisha, waiting anxiously by the main entrance. Well? Zoe demanded as he approached. What happened? Andre grinned. You're not going to believe this, he began, as they gathered around to hear the story. The Westlake High School auditorium buzzed with an unusual level of energy for a Wednesday evening school board meeting. Typically, these monthly gatherings drew only the most dedicated parents and faculty members, but tonight the room was packed. News of the confrontation between Andre and Tyler had spread throughout the community, taking on new dimensions with each retelling. Andre sat in the third row with his mother, watching as people filed in. His father would be arriving separately, coming directly from the hospital after his last surgery of the day. From their seats, they could overhear fragments of conversations as people settled around them. Heard the Davidson boy might lose his scholarship. 4 tires slashed.
Can you imagine? New doctor at the hospital.
Supposed to be brilliant, his mother squeezed his hand. You okay? She asked quietly. Andre nodded. Just strange to hear everyone talking about us. Small towns, she said with a wry smile. Big news travels fast. Principal Greenwood approached their row, leaning down to greet them. Dr. Taylor, Andre, good evening. Dr. Raymond will be joining us soon. He's on his way, Andre's mother confirmed. His last surgery ran a bit long. Not a problem. He's scheduled to speak after the regular agenda items, so we have some time. The principal lowered his voice. I wanted to let you know that the board has unanimously approved our new anti-bullying initiative. We'll be announcing it tonight. That was quick, Andre's mother commented, her tone suggesting she wasn't entirely convinced of the sincerity behind the rapid response. Principal Greenwood had the grace to look slightly embarrassed. Yes, well, recent events have highlighted the urgency of addressing these issues. Sometimes it takes a catalyst to bring about necessary change. A commotion at the back of the auditorium drew their attention. Tyler had entered with his parents, all 3 looking uncomfortable, as heads turned and whispers followed them down the aisle. Mr. Davidson nodded stiffly to acquaintances, but kept moving until they found seats on the far side of the room, as distant from Andre's family as possible. I'm surprised they came, Andre murmured to his mother. Appearances matter to people like the Davidsons, she replied softly. Not showing up would be an admission of guilt in their minds. The meeting began promptly at 7 with standard procedures: approval of minutes, budget updates, and committee reports. Andre found his attention wandering until the board president, Mrs. Harrington, announced that they would move to the special presentation portion of the evening. Before we introduce our guest speaker, Principal Greenwood has an important announcement regarding a new school initiative, she stated, yielding the podium. Principal Greenwood stepped forward, adjusting his tie nervously. Thank you, Mrs. Harrington. As many of you are aware, recent events have brought to light concerns about student interactions at Westlake High. While we've always prided ourselves on academic excellence, we must also ensure that our school provides a safe, inclusive environment for all students. He went on to outline the new anti-bullying program, a combination of awareness campaigns, anonymous reporting systems, and mandatory training for faculty and staff. The initiative would also include restorative justice practices and peer mediation programs. Additionally, he continued, we'll be establishing a student-led diversity and inclusion council to give our students a voice in creating a more welcoming school culture. We're committed to making meaningful change, not just symbolic gestures. There was polite applause as he concluded, though Andre noticed several board members glancing toward the Davidson family, gauging their reaction. Mr. Davidson's face remained impassive, but Mrs. Davidson nodded slightly as if in reluctant approval. Thank you. Principal Greenwood, Mrs. Harrington said, returning to the podium. Now we're honored to welcome Dr. Raymond Taylor, the new chief of neurosurgery at Westlake Memorial Hospital, who will speak to us about adolescent brain development and its implications for addressing bullying behavior. Dr. Taylor brings a unique perspective as both a medical professional and a parent in our community. The side door opened, and Andre's father strode in, still wearing his hospital ID badge clipped to the pocket of his dress shirt beneath his suit jacket. He moved with the confident grace of someone accustomed to commanding attention in operating rooms and medical conferences. A murmur rippled through the audience. Although many had heard about Dr. Taylor's arrival in Westlake, few had actually seen him in person yet. Andre noticed several people, including the Davidsons, sitting up straighter as his father approached the podium. Good evening, Dr. Taylor began, his deep voice filling the room effortlessly. Thank you for inviting me to speak on a topic that concerns all of us as parents, educators, and community members. He launched into a presentation that was both scientifically rigorous and surprisingly accessible, explaining how adolescent brains were still developing the capacity for impulse control, emotional regulation, and consideration of consequences. The frontal lobe, the part of the brain responsible for decision-making and understanding the impact of our actions, isn't fully developed until the mid-20s, he explained, pointing to a diagram on the screen behind him. This isn't an excuse for harmful behavior, but rather a reminder that young people need guidance and clear boundaries as they learn to navigate complex social situations. Andre watched as the audience leaned forward, captivated by his father's words. Even Tyler, who had been slumped in his seat, appeared to be listening intently. What we know from research, Dr. Taylor continued, is that punitive measures alone rarely change behavior patterns. Young people need both consequences and support, accountability coupled with opportunity for growth and redemption. He went on to discuss how community involvement, positive role modeling, and clear expectations could help create a culture where bullying was less likely to occur. Throughout his presentation, he never once mentioned Andre or the specific incidents that had prompted this meeting, focusing instead on the broader issues and potential solutions. In conclusion, he said after 40 minutes that had passed surprisingly quickly, I believe that what happened recently at Westlake High presents not just a challenge, but an opportunity, a chance to transform school culture in ways that will benefit all students. I'm encouraged by Principal Greenwood's initiative and look forward to seeing how we as a community can support these efforts. The applause was genuinely enthusiastic as Dr. Taylor stepped away from the podium. Andre felt a surge of pride watching his father shake hands with board members as he returned to his seat beside them. That was incredible, Dad, Andre whispered. His father smiled, squeezing his shoulder. Just doing my part. The meeting continued with comments from the public, most expressing support for the new initiative, though a few voiced concerns about implementation details. Finally, as the evening drew to a close, Mrs. Harrington asked if there were any final remarks before adjournment. To everyone's surprise, Tyler Davidson stood up. A hush fell over the room as the teenager made his way to the microphone set up for public comments. He looked different somehow, less confident than Andre had ever seen him, but also more genuine. I'm Tyler Davidson, he began unnecessarily, as everyone knew exactly who he was. I wasn't planning to speak tonight, but after listening to Dr. Taylor, I felt like I should say something. He took a deep breath, gripping the sides of the podium. What happened with Andre, and with other students before him, was wrong. And I was wrong, not just for what I did, but for what I encouraged others to do, and for what I allowed to happen when I could have stopped it. The auditorium was completely silent now, every eye fixed on Tyler as he continued. I've spent the last few days thinking about why I acted that way, trying to understand it like Dr. Taylor was talking about, and I think I was afraid. Afraid that someone might be better than me at something that mattered. Afraid that I might not be as special as everyone always told me I was. He glanced toward Andre, then quickly away. That's not an excuse. It's just the truth. And I want everyone to know that I'm truly sorry. Not because I got caught, but because I finally understand how much hurt I caused. Andre felt an unexpected lump in his throat. Despite everything, he recognized the courage it took for Tyler to stand up and admit fault so publicly. I accept the consequences of my actions, Tyler continued. The suspension, losing my captaincy, all of it. And I want to help with the new anti-bullying program if I'm allowed to. I think maybe someone who's been part of the problem might have something useful to say about solving it. As he stepped away from the microphone, the room remained silent for a moment before scattered applause began, gradually building until most of the audience was clapping. Not the enthusiastic ovation Dr. Taylor had received, but a respectful acknowledgement of a difficult truth spoken. Thank you, Mr. Davidson, Mrs. Harrington said when the applause died down. Your willingness to take responsibility is noted and appreciated. She looked around the room. If there are no other comments, this meeting is adjourned. People began gathering their belongings and filing out, many stopping to speak to Dr. Taylor or Principal Greenwood on their way. Andre noticed Mr. and Mrs. Davidson approaching his family, Tyler trailing slightly behind them. Dr. and Dr. Taylor, Mr. Davidson greeted them, his usual bravado noticeably diminished. I wanted to introduce myself properly. Richard Davidson. This is my wife Patricia and our son Tyler, whom you know of already. Raymond Taylor, Andre's father replied, shaking his hand firmly, and my wife Lisa.